Good evening, everybody. How's it going? This is Richard here, Trucki with Trucki. I know it's late, so I don't expect a lot of views. So I come on here to discuss truck repairs. Well, the good news is the truck's out of the shop. It's been out of the shop since Saturday. Then this morning we went and picked up our load in Bartonville at Keystone, and we're sitting in Columbus, Ohio. So 400 and something miles, not bad. But so my brothers suggested I talk about the actual bills. So this is my invoice for the truck repair. So I will let you know that I went back to the shop for a coolant leak and a right um, stock switch error code. Now, I don't know if I talked about it in a prior video, but on my way home, I was having issues with the coolant leak. Well, I just got my answer that I was justified in doing what I did. So basically, what it amounts to is the truck was in the shop for an entire week. At the end of that week, today, I ended up paying the bill. Technically, should maybe they should have kept it until I paid it, but I was good on my word and I made sure they got paid because I told myself I've got to pick up my load on Monday. I need the truck, but I'll pay it on my way out of town. So with that being said, is there a passcode? Hang on a second. So, anyways, like I said, I was going into the shop when I got home, not last Friday, but the Friday before last, because I was having issues. I was having a coolant leak, and then I was having the right control shifter, and and then they released it on Saturday, and then I was able to pick up my load this morning in Bartonville there. So, but with that being said, being an owner operator, you got to pay the bill. So my bill was $1,999.48, and so yeah, so that. But see, the sad thing is, I had the money put back and everything. This week is a wash because they kept my truck in this entire week. So I didn't make shit. Matter of fact, I'm going to be in the negative. But with that being said, as long as I could get 3,000 or better or 25 or better, I'm going to come out ahead, the week I'm working on. I've already got 1,200 miles lined up, so, well, probably 11 to 1,200 miles, give or take. Let's see. Oh, we actually got some people. Hi, everybody. Um, how's it going? Hope you all having a nice time. Let me know where you're from and if you're enjoying it. But I just want to get on here and talk about my truck repair and stuff. So like I said, I had this truck in the shop last month for the exact same issue. I dropped it off. They told me it's going to be a couple days, and I said it's fine. I'm off work, but um, they had it fixed really quick, and I'm like, that's a little quick for a coolant. Well, that's because they found some hoses that were loose. So I'm like, okay, so I just let it sit at the shop, and then I went and got it, and that was only like $300. I'm like, well, that's not bad. Wrong. It was still leaking. I went out to California, California to Colorado, Colorado up to Wisconsin, and I found out I still got a coolant leak. I'm like, what the hell? They fixed it. No, they didn't fix it. So I'll read you a little bit what they put on my invoice here. And they wrote, Bringing unit back for coolant leak. This was just in for the same issue. Pulled the unit into the shop, removed the bumper, pressure tested the coolant system, let sit for 20 minutes, found no drips or leaks. Rinsed off the engine and frame, pulled the unit outside, performed a park regen. This will see if there's a cold or hot water leak. After regen, pulled the unit into the shop, checked over the unit, and found no leaks. Test drove to Delavan and back. Oh, he went ways. I didn't realize that. Okay, test drove to Delavan and back, pulled into shop, and checked for any coolant leaks. Found none. Checked the engine all over, nothing. Pulled the EGR feed pipe to the intake, and it is dry, unless it has an internal leak getting into the combustion chamber, burning it, but there are no signs of that either. And this is what they kept telling me. There's no coolant leak. And I'm like, bullshit. There is a coolant leak. I see it on my frame and it's being blown back towards the firewall. And I kind of jumped their shit. I'm like, dude, there's a freaking coolant leak. And being an owner operator, it's your equipment. If you don't want to break down, you got to be an asshole about it, and tell them, dude, I'm seeing signs of a coolant leak. Well, this is my little what I call the vindication side of it. Pulled unit into the shop and looked it over and found two hoses leaking on the lower radiator. Hoses drained coolant, got parts for it, then removed hoses and installed new hoses. Filled coolant back up, road tested, and checked for leaks. All okay now. So right there tells me that they actually found it. Now, once I got the truck, I picked up my load, I paid the bill, and I got to Oakwood, Illinois, and I checked it myself. No leaks. And I'll spot check it throughout the week and see how we are. As long as there's no leaks, I think we fixed it. But the downside to this, it cost me, so it cost me not only $1,999.48, but it also cost me an entire week's worth of pay. So I'll be in the hole. I'll probably be $1,000, give or take, negative in the hole. But that's because I've got fixed expenses, truck payments, insurance payments, and stuff like that. Let's see what we got. So what are you going to do? Well, if it leaks again, we're going to have to figure out, where it's coming from, um, start checking other stuff. But if this reads correct, knock on wood, it shouldn't start leaking again. But if it starts leaking, we're going to have to look at the radiator, maybe some coolant lines. I mean, some metal coolant lines along the engine, maybe. I mean, I'm not exactly sure. I'm a mechanic, not a truck driver. But I check over everything to be more precise, because this is my livelihood, and I want to keep it running. So yeah, we will definitely be digging in a lot deeper if it still leaks again. But as of right now, they found two leaking hoses, and I think that's what my problem was, were these hoses. And I told the shop before, it's only leaking under pressure. So when I'm under a 44,000-pound load climbing a mountain out west in Wyoming or California or Colorado or out west, because I love going out west, I think what was going on, I was building up enough pressure when I was torquing down the engine that it was spraying it all the way back to the firewall. It would, and then when I would like get done for the day, it would like drip, or the pressure would go down, so it would go from back by the firewall, and then it would drip down onto the frame. So I had two different places where I could see that it was physically leaking. So If it was burning, you could smell it, but if it's really not burning, I didn't smell anything. But what I did see is, or observe, is there, it wasn't really a puddle, but it was wetness on the ground that wasn't there when I parked. And the dampness on my frame. So if you pay a lot of attention to your equipment and get to know your equipment, you'll detect stuff that's going on. You might catch a fuel leak or a coolant leak, a oil leak, that wasn't there. I mean, it really boils down to like they always beat in our heads, pre-trip, 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 because 9 times out of 10 you're going to catch shit on your pre-trip. Well, as an owner operator, you got to kind of take it a step further than just pre-trip. You got to really inspect shit because you're the one paying the bill. So, like I said, all total, this probably cost me 3 grand total with the downtime plus this bill. But I had the savings back for the repair. So, in the short term, it's only going to cost me $1,500, $1,000 to $1,500 because of my fixed expenses. But this is what it takes to be an owner operator. So, I mean, now that we're fixed, and by this description, it should be fixed, knock on wood, we should be good. So, yeah. Well, if I see something wrong with it and it's off, definitely check it into a shop and have them look it over. Um, I would rather pay a shop to do it than to get down the road and break down and have to call a wrecker, because now you're getting into thousands of dollars of the repair bill. So not just the repair bill, but now you got a wrecker. And if you're out on the road, you're going to have a hotel bill, your food bill. So what I do is I check everything over. And if I see something starting to go wrong, I tell my company, hey, I've got to head to the house. I've got a problem with the truck. I need to do it at home. Because if I can get the truck home, no wrecker bill, no hotel bill, and well, I already buy groceries for the house anyways, so I could do free laundry and stuff. So I just go on home time and put the truck in the shop. But if there's something that I don't that I see that's not right, yeah, I'm definitely putting it in the shop. But if there's nothing wrong with it, I'm not going to put it in the shop. But if I see like a little bit of a coolant leak or an oil leak, most definitely I want somebody that's certified in that aspect to get a second pair of eyes on it to make sure what I'm seeing is legit. That way, it's like, no, that, yes or no, costing me money, yes, but again, having the assurance to know that my equipment's not going to strand me somewhere in the country is a lot better than being stranded and being towed. I didn't get towed, but I did get stranded for an hour out in Oregon when my starter took a shit, and I had to get it fixed. And the carrier's like, "Oh yeah, we'll help you." And then I ended up doing it myself because the people that they suggested wouldn't answer their phone. So from that point on, I do everything separate from my carrier. I don't mix any business with them at all. So, and I think I prefer it that way to be other than my dispatches and stuff. So, but yeah. Um, but other than that, yeah, I think it turned out pretty good. They in the end they was able to find my coolant leak, and it was two hoses leaking, and they got them fixed. So, oh yeah, I've had that. Like I said, my starter went down, but right before I bought this truck, I was still a company driver. I mean, I've broken down. I mean, I was climbing cabbage. Well, I want to say last winter. Was it winter or early spring? I was coming out of Washington, going to Kansas City, and I blew a radiator climbing. cabbage out in Oregon, and yeah, that was probably about a $5,000 bill plus probably 1,500 or better, give or take, for the wrecker service to pull me down to La Grande to get it fixed, and then the hotel expense, and then my food bill. So, I mean, when you factor all that in, you're probably looking at 10 grand, close to 10 grand, if not at 10 grand. Maybe not that steep, but you get the idea. When you break down out on the road, shit can expire now. The only thing I really paid for was the food bill at that time because I was still a company driver. Because I didn't actually purchase this truck until the end of July. So, but I have broken down on the road as a company driver and as an owner operator, and this shit can spiral out of control quick. And I won't mention who he is, but I had another owner operator here at the company I'm with. He just posted on his own Facebook that his transmission is toast and that he's buying a new truck. And that could very well happen to me at some point. Truck just ups and gives up the ghost. And when that happens, you better be ready because I've had another truck go down on me. I had the wrong mechanic working on the truck, and it was a 2007 9400i International. And I uh, I was pulling for Crete at the time, and yes, I still do pull for Crete. Um, so yeah. Well, my very first truck was the International 9400i as an owner operator, and it had a C13 cat, 10-speed automated transmission, Eaton Fuller, and the engine was an old used truck. It was a shit truck really, but it was my first truck. It was only $18,000, and it nickled and dimed me death. I had a coolant leak. I had this go wrong. So it's like, okay, keeping my spirits up. And like, why don't we do this or that? And then it's like, I had an injector go out. So I had the mechanic replace, I think it was like the number 6 injector. Didn't program it right. Picked up a heavy load out of Hannibal going to Florida. And this truck had never blown black smoke from the entire time I owned it. And I was rolling coal out of the stacks. Now, mind you, it's an '07 International 9400i. Smokestacks coming up right behind the driver's door. It was a blue truck. And I didn't have a good feeling. It wasn't pulling right, so I T-called the load in St. Louis. I bobtailed to Indianapolis. I took all Crete's markings off the truck. I was bobtailing home, and as soon as I got outside of Indianapolis, I threw a rod. Well, that was the end of my owner operator. I didn't have the money. I didn't have the funds to fix it because I would have to totally rebuild the engine. Crete wasn't going to help me do it, so it's like, well, I'm fucked. So I went back to being a company driver. I got that truck paid off, put some money in the bank, bought this truck. The only thing between this truck and that truck is this is a lot newer truck. It's a 2022 Freightliner Cascadia, and it's got warranties. And I love warranties because I have gotten some shit fixed that was under warranty, and I didn't have to pay for a damn thing on it. So that is a plus. So going ahead in my future, I'm doing every other week home, or every 2 weeks, should say 2 to 3, and then I'm trying to make sure within that time frame I get all my maintenance done at home at in Morton at the truck centers. Because if I do that, then I don't have all that crap to do. But eventually I will get bit, and I'll be stuck in a hotel somewhere. But that's trucking. That's part of the business. I've been doing this for 18 years. It's just part of the territory. So hope you guys enjoyed this live. I figured instead of making a short little video, I just do it live because what better way to engage with my subscribers? If you're tuning in and you're not subscribed, please hit that like, notification bell, and the subscribe. and help this channel grow. If we can grow this channel to 1K by July 15th, that'd be awesome. And also, I, I got a little treat. I got stickers. So my logo, my channel logo, if you like it, I've actually got stickers here. Let me dig one out if I can get it. So I got little stickers here. Yep, I got that. And then I got, I got these here. These I just did for fun. If you guys like them, I'll do more of this. But long story short, on the pirate theme, I was born with one arm. You know, I drive semi with one hand. And as I was growing up, I've always wanted to be Captain Hook for Halloween. Well, I'm perfect pirate for Captain Hook because I've got one arm and I actually have a prosthetic hook. So that's what I was. But since the advent of AI, I decided to play around with it, and that's pretty much me as Captain Hook. So there's that sticker. And then, last but not least, if you haven't subscribed or see my other channel, which I kind of only mess with it when I'm working on my railroad, I have my own 7.5-inch gauge live stream railroad, and that's called the Canton Cuban Western. And that is the sticker for that one. And if you want any of these stickers, let me know, and I'll be glad to get you some. But thank you for the subscription. I really appreciate it. And I hope I'm saying this right. Beckley G8176. I'm sorry if I butchered that. Thanks for the subscription. What is the new kind of scarf? uh Well, I was born that way. I guess you could say my mom had an amniotic band syndrome, so I've never really had the arm to begin with. So I grew up that way, and it doesn't slow me down. I drive trucks. I've driven train. I've kind of wanted. I'm all about transportation. So I've driven semi. I fly airplanes, and I've also driven trains, only at museums. I've tried to get the railroad to hire me, but they're not big into the whole handicap thing. So, but I still love trucking because it's what I've always wanted to do. But you know what they say, always upgrade to something bigger and better. But so that's why I'm in the live steam hobby too, because I like it. But I think being an owner operator for me is probably the best thing because A, I'm not on Social Security. Two, everybody really congratulates me on being a truck driver with one arm and not being on Social Security and milking the system, which I've never really desired to do that for whatever reason. I've always wanted to work for everything I have. That way I could actually say I did it myself. And yeah, I mean, I'm a go-getter. I mean, I've got an awesome prosthetic guy out of Chicago that if I want to do anything, he's more than willing to create a prosthetic or an attachment that allows me to do it. So, but yep. But with that being said, it's 11:09 here in Columbus, Ohio, and I need to be in Navarre, Ohio, well, 10 or 11 tomorrow morning to deliver my load. So I'm going to sign off. Tell y'all good night. I'm glad you guys got to view this. Hope you enjoyed it. Let me know if you enjoy more, and if you want a sticker, let me know, and I will get with you, and we'll work on getting you guys a sticker. See you later.